The tax deadline fast approaching as we take a look at where your hard-earned tax dollars are going. Founder and CEO of OpenTheBooks.com, Adam Andrzejewski, joining us this morning with some insight on this. Good morning to you, Adam. Tax revenues at an all-time high, spending in Washington not slowing down, as we know. Tell us about the surge in spending that we've seen in the past 2 decades.
Well, Dan, it's bipartisan. Both parties are addicted to spending your taxpayer dollar. Think about the year 2000. George W. Bush was in the White House. The national debt was $5.8 trillion. Today, after Bush, Obama the Democrat, Trump the Republican, Biden the Democrat, the national debt stands at north of $31 trillion. Both parties are fleecing the American people. They're spending too much money.
OpenTheBooks.com led investigations into how Washington was spending American taxpayer dollars. What kinds of projects did you find?
Well, they're coming in with new and innovative ways to waste your taxpayer dollar, Jan. So, for instance, earmarks. This is the currency of corruption in Congress. This is a practice where the House Speaker doles out member pet projects in their district, pork barrel spending projects, to put member votes on big spending bills. And so this was banned for 10 years, and the Republicans took a secret vote. They joined Democrats to bring this practice back just in the last couple of years. Here are some examples of how they're wasting money on earmarks. The Republican U.S. Senator from Maine, Susan Collins, earmarked $3 million for the Irish Heritage Museum. $1 million went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame outside of Cleveland, Ohio, and $3 million went for the Hip Hop Museum in New York. You've got $2.7 million earmarked by a retiring Democratic congressman, Jim Cooper, to Nashville, where his brother is the mayor. In Baltimore, you've got the Congressman Kwame Nfume. He earmarks $2 million to the Great Blacks in Wax Museum, who commissioned his own wax statue. He's preserved in wax there just last year.
And Adam, this is also after the biggest public fraud in the history of our country, with more than $500 billion stolen in COVID aid. And speaking of COVID and the pandemic, your organization also uncovered a $1.4 billion hidden royalty stream at NIH since 2010. Tell us more about this.
Well, I think during the pandemic, the American people started to feel that big government was very close to big pharma. And now, because of our work at OpenTheBooks.com, we know just how close they were. So every single year at the National Institutes of Health, according to our checkbook data, they dole out $32 billion a year in grant making to 56,000 entities in the healthcare space across the country. And that buys you a lot of friends, that buys you a lot of allies. But now we know, coming back through the other door, over the course of the last decade, was $1.4 billion worth of hidden secret third-party royalties. And the National Institutes of Health still refuses to tell us the name of the payer who paid $1.4 billion. They refuse to tell us the amount that each of the 2,400 individual scientists received, and they're also blanking out and redacting from the disclosures the name of the invention, the license number, and the patent number. So NIH is telling the American people, sit down, shut up, we'll run things. But here's the problem. When you can't follow the money, every single one of those payments is a potential conflict of interest.
Right. And the fact is that what they're doing is also legal, that we are allowing them to take these royalties and then also helping to shape public policy. And that's where these mandates become even more questionable. Are any government programs running well, Adam?
Well, we always take a look at when government spends a tax dollar, they've got a responsibility, the hardworking American people, to spend it honestly, frugally, and to help people who have real needs. And Jan, during the pandemic, this would have been the opportunity for the federal, state, and local governments to shine. But as you mentioned earlier, during the pandemic, it is the largest public fraud in the history of the country, with up to $500 billion, $500 billion stolen by criminals, con artists, and crime syndicates from around the world. In California, for example, prisoners on death row and just folks in prison, they took $1 billion worth of unemployment aid just in the state of California.
Founder and CEO of OpenTheBooks.com, Adam Andrzejewski, always great to see you. Thanks for joining us this morning. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Jan.